for a weekend full of Masters golf, Boise State spring games, Major League Baseball all over the place. I love it, man. Going to be a big hour for us. And coming up after we get through with our wonderful segment every week with BJ Rains, Open Phone Friday, where we're going to hear from our listeners about everything that went on this week, mainly that Jeremiah Dickey vision, Prater.
Love it. Love it. Let's get after it today, Ballgame.
All right. You can watch this segment right now on all forms of our social media, Twitter, Facebook, all this stuff, because we have this wonderful partnership with the crew at Bronco Nation News, led by BJ Rains. He's with us right now. BJ, what's going on? Happy Friday. Welcome to the program. And obviously, big weekend with the spring game, but even bigger with the Jeremiah Dickey news this week.
Yeah, I wonder what crew you're talking about with Bronco Nation News, though. I would use some help if I could. It's me right now, but no, appreciate you guys having me on. And yeah, you guys had Jeremiah Dickey on a little while ago. I had him on as well, and a lot of people are talking to him today, and it's been big news the last couple of days. And we'll have the spring game tomorrow. We'll soak all this in while we can, and then we'll all search for topics to talk about the next few months.
I'll start you off today, BJ, with the same question I asked Jeremiah Dickey an hour ago on this show. Just 24 hours later, after this thing's been released, the playbook for success, Prater has it right by him right now. What has the feedback been for you and on your side with Bronco Nation News with this thing?
Well, I think people are excited, as expected. The photos look great. The concept sounds great. And I think it's if it can actually happen, I think it would be amazing for this university and would help them to a lot of bigger and better things. But that's a big if. I mean, there's a lot of things that have to happen. There's a lot of holes in the plan right now. And I thought it was interesting. Boise State guys spent 2 or 3 days, or at least the day we were all over there, stressing to us that this was a vision. And then in the title of the press release, they called it a plan. And so, it's obviously a vision. There's no concrete plan. It is what it is. A lot still has to happen. There's some folks that are skeptical out there. I get it. They know they've seen the drawings before and nothing's happened. But the concept itself, the idea itself, the photos themselves look amazing. And if Boise State can pull off even part of this, it's going to be huge.
BJ, I'll follow with that, with the fan base. Prater's seen the negativity with it. Hey, well, what about my parking space, right? Prater, we're talking yesterday about T-shirt fans. In your opinion, like, what have you dealt with any of that moving forward? I'm sure you've heard that stuff too, man.
Yeah, like I said, there's some negative folks out there saying, oh, this will never happen. Oh, they'll never get the state approval. Oh, they'll never get the city approval. Oh, they're never going to raise this amount of money. It's a lot of money, guys. I think that someone had said, or I'd heard somewhere that the largest single donation by any single person, and not just one donation, but their lifetime, their donation is like around $10 million. So you're talking about 25 people needing to give the largest donations they've ever given to this university to make it even possibly happen. There's a lot that has to happen. A ton of money has to be raised. It's nice to say you give us $10, you give us 20, that's great. But when you're talking $250 million at a minimum, probably that's a lot of cash. And you need some really, really high priced donors to come in and give the largest donations they've ever given. And so we'll see. I think it looks great. It sounds great. But if people are skeptical, this might not get done. It is kind of hard to blame them given some of the previous plans that haven't happened.
We're talking to BJ Rains, Bronco Nation News. We're talking about Boise State's playbook for success. Is it a vision? Is it a plan? Is it a playbook? Is it a what's next? I think they got all the labels covered, BJ. So we're looking forward to that. Let's get rid of all the skepticism and focus on maybe something realistic and positive. What's the most realistic thing that can come out of this first? Jeremiah Dickey's priority is the East Side renovation, but that's also the most complicated project in this whole deal. So when do we finally start to see something, BJ? And what is that something?
Yeah, I know he did say to you guys, just an hour ago that the East Side is his main priority. And I think that is probably the easiest just because I think the donors are going to be the most willing to step up and give the amount of money that it would take to do the East Side of the stadium. That's the thing that would be the most recognizable to start with. If they could get that new entrance over there on the Broadway side, if they can close in the bowl. Let's not kid ourselves here that all the other stuff's nice, but the Big 12 is going to come looking at the football stadium. So I think the football stadium has to be the first thing that's addressed. Extra extra mile arena in terms of adding some suites and things in there and upgrading the practice facility there, I think is item 1A right below that. So yeah, I mean, I think that the indoor tennis courts and the beach volleyball courts and all that sounds nice and would be loved to have at some point. But I think you start with football, you start bringing in some cash from that, the revenue generating parts of it. I mean, a lot of things on that list, guys, don't bring them any money, whether it be the, and so they've got to focus on the points where they can use those suites and use that end zone or that ground level club to start bringing in money, which can help pay for that and then start to help pay for some of the other stuff. So I think you start with the east side. I think you start with the football part of it, and then you move on from there. I think the varsity center, I mean, guys, you've been in there, and I was walking through it today. I mean, our friend Mike Walsh, who's now, pretty high up in the athletic department, has like a 6-foot closet for an office. I mean, it is crazy to think about, and they've got coaches and head coaches like literally in like converted closets for offices and stuff. So the varsity center needs to be addressed too. That thing is very old and outdated. They need a new weight room. They need new offices. Jeremiah Dickey's office isn't much bigger than your studio there. So, I mean, they've got a lot of things that they've got to address. And I think it starts with east side, the football stadium, and then some combination of probably basketball and the varsity center.
I jumped on a couple of fans yesterday, and they were talking about what's the timeline. And it's the question is good. What's the timeline? We all want to know what the timeline is. But the answer is as soon as people pony up the cash. This isn't a timeline for Boise State to decide. This is a timeline for Boise State boosters and fans and donors to decide. So let's take that aside. Realistically, if we're going to be talking about changes to Albertson Stadium, when do you think, how fast can it be done?
Well, I went back and I read my old story from when they announced the previous East Side renovations, which again was a different athletic director, different administration, and it was like basically a little less than 2 years was when the initial target rate was. And ironically enough, the 2022 season was when they hoped to have some of this stuff done by this fall, and so that was sometime in 2020, I believe it was that was announced. So you're obviously not looking at this fall, and you're maybe not even looking at next fall. Maybe some of the smaller stuff. But you're probably looking at and again, is the UCF game the first game in 2023? Is that the home opener, UCF? I know it's on the schedule in 2023, but I mean, so ideally, in 18 months, could you get something done? So when Central Florida comes to town, you have some sort of, addition to the stadium done. Maybe you can, but you're probably to do the full filling in the bowl, the whole end zone, the first level club. I would say you're probably looking at the earliest the 2024 season.
Yeah, then at 23, they open at Washington with the home opener against UCF, as you just said. In 24, the home opener is Oregon State. In 25, the home opener is Oregon. 25 for Oregon Ducks. That's got to happen, BJ.
Yep. Yeah, no doubt about it. And I think even 2024, I mean, you're still talking about over 2.5 years. And what I wonder is if they get enough money and they get some initial donations, do they go ahead and start with the football part of this, or do they need to get some sort of number where they attack this whole village at once? And so I wonder if they can say, okay, we got $50 million. We can get this football thing done. Let's get started on it. That's probably the way they go. But in terms of loans and things like that, I don't know how it all works with the state funding and whatever else. But yeah, I think that the football stadium has to be addressed first. I think it will. And I think you're probably looking at 2024. But as Jeremiah Dickey told you guys, there's still some other stuff they want to do, whether it be new lights. They want to even increase the scoreboard in the north end zone. There's some smaller things I think they can do before they get into the big, infrastructure changes of the east side.
BJ Rain's with us every Friday here on Idaho Sports Talk. He's with Bronco Nation News. This segment all over our social media channels. You can check back on that anytime. If you're not watching it live, you could be or should be as well. BJ, I was thinking too, I mean, there's 12 things they want to build with this playbook for success. I mean, you start with football, like you said, Big 12, they're looking at your football stadium, and they want to close that up too, make it a true bowl of a stadium. Those renderings look pretty sweet too. But I mean, if you get that and you get in the Big 12 and your TV money goes from $5 million on a great year to, 40 million on an average year with the Big 12, if the football money comes in there, doesn't that make it easier to build stuff on campus? Doesn't that make it easier to get someone to put another zero on the end of that check to go from 1,000 to 10,000 if you are playing Big 12 athletics.
Yeah, I know Jeremiah Dickey didn't want to answer that question when you asked him, Johnny, but it's obvious. Yeah, I mean, and if you can show them the plan and you can do enough to the football stadium and the basketball to show them, that you're serious about this and that you're ready to go, then certainly once your revenue goes up, now your expenditures would go up as well. So you're not just pocketing an extra $35 million in profit that you can turn around and pay for this. But yeah, sure. I mean, yeah, you have the 5,000 seat arena for the Olympic sports, the soccer stadium, all the other stuff they're talking about, lights for the softball field, turf for the softball field, an indoor hitting facility. There's a lot they're talking about. And yeah, I mean, certainly more money. And don't even, talk about ticket sales. You start bringing Kansas basketball and, Baylor football and some of the other schools, you're going to sell a lot more tickets and charge a lot more for them as well.
It's crazy, man. I love it. BJ, by the way, we're watching the Masters here. Tiger made the cut, which is great. Is Prater going to make the cut at the Bronco Nation News Golf Tournament coming up?
Well, I've never played with Prater, so I honestly, I thought maybe we could have one of those like the Masters, where before the tournament starts, they get the three former champions out there with a ceremonial tee shot. Maybe it could be Mike, Johnny, and JP. Maybe we can get JP, John Mallory, and Mike Prater for the ceremonial tee shot to kick off the tournament. Why not?
Tee shot. Good luck getting Prater to do anything ceremonial. Not going to happen. BJ, enjoy your weekend. I'll catch you tomorrow on the field. We get to go on the field before the spring game now, man. I love it. Thanks, BJ.
Looking forward to it. See you tomorrow, guys.
Great stuff with Bronco Nation News and BJ Rains. Follow them on Twitter. Pay attention to everything they're doing over there in that big golf tournament coming up. Prater, Open Phone Friday, 208-424-9300. Fans, this is your opportunity. Now, you've seen the Jeremiah Dickey video.